States as the unrivaled global superpower be coming to an end? Could the era of the United States as the unrivaled global superpower be coming to an end? For decades, the United States has stood as a colossus in the realms of military might, economic prowess, and cultural influence. From the bustling streets of New York to the innovation hubs of Silicon Valley, the US has been synonymous with leadership and dominance on the global stage. Yet whispers of change are in the air. Observers note a subtle, yet perceptible shift, as if the ground beneath America's feet is altering. The signs are there, if one knows where to look. The once unchallengeable military now faces growing competition from emerging powers. Economically, the giant sees shadows of rivals in markets it once dominated effortlessly. Culturally, the world's tastes are diversifying, no longer automatically echoing American trends. Is this perceived decline merely a temporary blip, or a deeper, more systemic shift? To understand the shift, we must look at the evidence laid out before us. The backbone of any superpower lies in its economic strength. How does America's economy stand today? In the grand chessboard of global economics, the pieces have been moving rapidly, and it seems the United States is no longer the solitary king. Over the past few decades, nations like China and India have emerged not just as competitors, but as formidable contenders in the economic arena. Let's delve into the numbers and trends that paint this ever-evolving picture. Gross domestic product, or GDP, has long been the yardstick by which economic prowess is measured. While the US continues to hold a significant lead with a massive economy, the growth rates tell a different story. Over the last 10 years, the US has seen an average annual GDP growth rate of around 2%. In contrast, China and India have surged ahead with annual growth rates often exceeding 6%. This rapid growth in the East is reshaping economic expectations on a global scale. But GDP isn't the only indicator of economic health. Unemployment rates also offer a revealing glimpse into a country's economic vitality. The US has traditionally boasted low unemployment figures, but recent years have seen slight increases that hint at underlying labor market issues. Meanwhile, countries like India, with their burgeoning tech industries, are creating millions of new jobs, slowly but steadily chipping away at their unemployment figures. Technological innovation, once dominated by Silicon Valley, has found new hubs in Bangalore and Shenzhen. These cities are now synonymous with cutting-edge technology and innovation, attracting investments from around the world and nurturing homegrown tech giants that rival the likes of Google and Apple. The shift is also palpable in the manufacturing sector. The past several years have seen a significant migration of manufacturing bases from the US to countries with cheaper labor and fewer regulations. This exodus has been accelerated by trade wars, which, while intended to protect US interests, have often backfired, making imports more expensive and hurting American consumers and businesses alike. As the economic landscape evolves, so too does the global power structure. The shifts in GDP growth, unemployment, technological prowess, and manufacturing strength are not just numbers. They are signs of a changing world where the US is no longer the unchallenged leader, but one player among many on a multipolar stage. Capability. Has America maintained its lead? As we delve into the fabric of global military power dynamics, it becomes clear that the United States, once the unchallenged titan of military might, now faces formidable competitors on the world stage. Historically, the US has outspent nearly every other nation on defense, a testament to its commitment to maintaining a military edge. However, the landscape of military expenditure is shifting. Countries like China and Russia have significantly increased their defense budgets. China, for instance, has been enhancing its naval capabilities, which stand as a clear signal of its intentions to extend its influence. Moreover, the realm of military technology is no longer monopolized by the United States. Advanced drone technology, hypersonic missiles, and cyber warfare capabilities are areas where countries like Russia and China are not just catching up, but in some cases, taking the lead. The recent developments in artificial intelligence and autonomous weapons systems by these nations pose new challenges to the US's technological supremacy. The changing role of the US in global security is also evident in recent conflicts and military engagements. The American military, once seen as the ultimate arbiter in international disputes, now finds its actions and intentions questioned and countered on various fronts. The interventions in the Middle East and the strategic pivots in Asia reflect a more contested form of global leadership, where outcomes are no longer as predictable as they once were. Furthermore, the rise of asymmetric warfare, where non-state actors and smaller nations employ unconventional strategies to offset traditional military disadvantages, has altered the strategic calculus. These actors have leveraged technology, information warfare, and terrain to their advantage, challenging the conventional superiority of US forces. The battlefield has changed, and with it, the players. As we observe these shifts, it's clear that the era of unchallenged American supremacy in military terms is evolving into a more multipolar and complex global defense landscape. Politics shape power. Where does the US stand in the eyes of the world? In recent years, the landscape of global politics has witnessed a significant shift. The United States, once the cornerstone of many international alliances, has seen its influence wane. This change is particularly evident in its interactions with long-standing institutions like the United Nations and NATO. Traditionally, the US has played a pivotal role in these organizations, driving initiatives and shaping global policies. However, a growing trend of political isolationism has begun to alter this dynamic. The United States has increasingly prioritized national interests over collaborative global strategies. This shift has not only affected its standing in these organizations, but has also impacted its relationships with allied nations. For instance, recent US administrations have questioned the financial and strategic commitments to NATO, arguing for other member nations to increase their defense spending. This stance has occasionally led to tensions within the alliance, giving rise to doubts about the US's long-term commitment to NATO's collective security mandate. Moreover, the US's influence at the United Nations has been challenged. The country's recent withdrawal from several UN bodies and agreements, citing biases or ineffectiveness, has contributed to a perception of the US as a less cooperative and more inward-looking nation. In contrast, other rising powers have adopted more outwardly engaging and cooperative diplomatic strategies. Countries like China have expanded their influence by actively participating in and sometimes leading international bodies. They have also forged new alliances and trade agreements across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, filling the void left by the US's retreat. These strategic moves by other nations have not only enhanced their global standing, but have also subtly eroded the influence traditionally held by the United States. As these countries continue to assert their presence on the world stage, they reshape the global political landscape, often at the expense of US dominance. As alliances shift, so does influence. Still the world's leading export? They reshape the global political landscape, often at the expense of US dominance. As alliances shift, so does influence. Still the world's leading export? In the latter half of the 20th century, American culture was virtually synonymous with global culture. Hollywood movies, rock and roll, and later, the omnipresence of the internet, defined and exported the American lifestyle to every corner of the globe. This cultural export not only entertained but also subtly disseminated values and norms that shaped perceptions and influenced global trends. Fast forward to today, the landscape of cultural influence is undergoing a significant transformation. While American media and entertainment still hold considerable sway, there is an undeniable rise in the global appetite for diversity. Asian entertainment, particularly from South Korea and Japan, has stormed the world stage. K-pop bands like BTS and blockbuster films from Studio Ghibli have captivated international audiences, offering a vibrant alternative to the American cultural monolith. Moreover, technology, once dominated by Silicon Valley, now sees formidable competition from East Asia. Companies like Samsung and Huawei are at the forefront of technological innovation and market reach, challenging American giants like Apple and Google. The digital realm, too, reflects this shift. Social media platforms originating from Asia, such as TikTok, have exploded in popularity, carving out significant niches in what was once a market monopolized by American companies. These platforms are not just tools for social interaction, but are also powerful mediums for cultural exchange and influence. The cultural currents are shifting, perhaps subtly undermining a once dominant force, global leadership. As we've journeyed through the unraveling narrative of a changing superpower, we've observed the subtle yet significant shifts. Economically, the United States has seen its dominance challenged by rising giants whose innovative approaches and strategic investments have reshaped global markets. The tides have turned, and the economic center of gravity is shifting eastward. Militarily, but are also powerful mediums for cultural exchange and influence. The cultural currents are shifting, perhaps subtly undermining a once dominant force, global leadership. As we've journeyed through the unraveling narrative of a changing superpower, we've observed the subtle yet significant shifts. Economically, the United States has seen its dominance challenged by rising giants whose innovative approaches and strategic investments have reshaped global markets. The tides have turned, and the economic center of gravity is shifting eastward. Militarily, the era of unchallenged American supremacy is fading into history. New powers are emerging, equipped with modernized forces and cutting-edge technology, altering the strategic balance that once seemed unshakable. Politically, the landscape is equally transformative. Long-standing alliances have been tested, and new blocs are forming, driven by shared interests and mutual needs, rather than historical ties. This realignment speaks to a broader decentralization of global influence, suggesting a move toward a more multipolar world order. Culturally, the global narrative is diversifying. The American cultural imprint, while still significant, now shares the stage with multiple voices, each broadcasting their unique perspectives and values. This cultural pluralism contributes to a more variegated global community, influencing ideologies and policymaking on an international scale. Reflecting on these trends, the emergence of a multipolar world seems not just possible, but probable. The notion of a single superpower steering the global ship is giving way to a scenario where multiple nations hold significant sway, each contributing to a dynamic balance of power. The landscape of global power is undeniably transforming. The question now is not if, but how we adapt to these changes.